Danny. This is my name is Shelby with Culture Trip, and I just wanted to reach out to you today. We were hoping that you would share with us some of the insights that you have as one of our local insiders in Scotland for this incredible trip, and maybe just tell us a little bit about yourself and how long you've been doing this.
Cool. Well, I guess I started as a tour guide or a guide a good 10 years ago, part-time initially, so I did it alongside another career in the past. And then about five and a half years ago, I took the decision to go full-time. I mean, I've always had a love of the outdoors, I guess it's fair to say, ever since I was a child. And so the opportunity to be a full-time tour guide at least kind of combines both my own enjoyment as well as being a passion to be able to share both the experiences and the stunning views that I get to see whenever I'm out and about in the Highlands or elsewhere.
Fabulous. What do you think is the most rewarding part of being a tour guide?
I think it's being able to share, whether it's a visual experience or a particular place, maybe a point in the landscape or something that maybe has a historical connection, sort of revealing that to people and kind of helps to bring things to life a bit more. I mean, you can read about many of these places in books, see them on films and things, but I think that first-hand sort of experience just really immerses you in the location and the historical or otherwise aspects that you can get from these places.
Oh, yes, absolutely. I agree with you. We offer a couple different itineraries in Scotland. We've got our Wild Scotland itinerary, which is just incredible. And then we're also we've got our rail that we're launching. Can you tell me a little bit about, these itineraries? What makes you excited about that?
Well, certainly the Wild Scotland probably really floats my boat, literally.
Right. Exactly. Me too.
It is, I think Scotland as a location, is worth visiting purely for the wilderness aspects. Again, whether it's scenery or immersing yourself in ancient nature. I mean, there are places either on the mainland or not far off on some of the islands that are well over, I think they've recorded 4 billion years or more. So it goes a long way back. And just to kind of get to be there and then feel what it's like, maybe to sort of imagine how it was when the volcanoes were erupting and the land was moving. So that's quite, brings us back as a human to sort of realize where we are on this earth. What we're left with today in many respects is a stunning views. So, what one sees is what kind of almost blows the mind, again, in terms of what you can experience on the Wild Scotland trip. The rail trip that you've referred to, in some respects, that still encompasses an element of the wilderness, the Highlands. I mean, again, the Highlands is the least populated or the least dense area of the whole of the United Kingdom. So you don't have to travel very far before you literally are in the wilderness and you kind of away from the cities, etc. But the rail tour certainly goes through Edinburgh, Inverness, two of the key cities in Scotland. So you get a flavour again of, perhaps the cultural aspects that come from the sort of city environment, and both cities have some landmarks. Edinburgh Castle is definitely well worth watching or going to see. Inverness in itself, it's more of a modern city. Perhaps doesn't have a big castle. It's got an old fort, sort of reminiscent of the 1600s when things in the Highlands were a little bit more unsettled than they are today.
Yes. Just a little.
Nature viewing, definitely, whether it's off the shores, get to see some dolphins. In the Highlands themselves, you can get in the Cairngorms in particular. There are some, again, good scenery, but also some other sort of aspects of nature to sort of see, whether it's possibly some eagles, ospreys, and reindeer sort of living in the environment as well. So both that trip still offers the wilderness aspect as well as a bit more of a city approach.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, I am a big foodie, and I know a lot of our travelers are. Can you maybe give us some insider information on local dishes local drinks maybe that they can enjoy on these trips?
Yeah, I mean, I'd say Scotland has some classics that are always worth sampling, certainly if it's the first time, and definitely if you've only ever experienced them outside of Scotland, getting the local rundown on the recipes is probably a good idea. Things like haggis have to be on the menu. Anybody who likes good fish soup, there's a soup that's called Cullen Skink. Kind of might give you an odd impression with a word as to what it might be, but actually it's very flavoursome. It is made from a fish soup in itself, and is quite a local popular soup to find on many of the restaurant menus in the area throughout the Highlands. Salmon is farmed in the area quite extensively, so whether it's fresh salmon or even smoked salmon, both those sort of side of things is equally well worth getting fresher and closer to the point of source of manufacture, let's say. On the dessert side of things, Cranachan, which is sort of takes into account oats, which is something that Scotland is well known for, things like porridge, but also combining it with raspberries, which is probably perhaps one of the more bountiful fruits that you can find in the wild as well. Wild strawberries, small but very very tasty. They pack a punch in terms of their taste. Other ones that are worth having, certainly sampling again, black pudding out on the Outer Hebrides, Stornoway on the Isle of Lewis is well known, very famous for its production of the black pudding out there. And then even today's more eclectic sort of menu offerings are the vegetarian offerings. Again, it's probably fair to say that just whatever the vegetables in season are at the time, along with perhaps some of the fish and things, they come up with a variety of dishes that definitely make you want to come back again if you've got the option.
Wonderful, fantastic. And then of course whiskey is always a firm favorite. I had noticed last time I was in Scotland, and I wondered if these trips are going to touch on that, are sort of breweries and microbreweries and things like that.
And certainly I think the rail trip will take in the brewery local to me in Fort William. It's the Ben Nevis distillery, the water for which literally comes off the side on the north face side of Ben Nevis. So it's coming down from roughly, I'd say, a good 700 meters. That equates to well over about 2,000 feet up in the mountain. So it's a good source, very very pure. And definitely worth sampling, definitely in terms of getting to the local distillery. And then even on the Hebrides, there's a possible option of visiting some distilleries out on the Isles and kind of comparing and contrasting the flavours. Again, it is all to do with the water source. So if it comes across the peat, then you get that real smoky flavour coming into your whiskies as well.
Wonderful. I love it. So just a little bit about our groups. We're running small group sustainable trips, and can you tell me what you think the benefits of group travel are?
Well, again, there's in terms of the environment and even one's own economy. I think sharing things has less of an impact, costs a little bit less, but probably one of the big benefits of sharing a tour with other people is that you get to obviously meet people, but perhaps see and do things that you wouldn't necessarily do on your own, whether through the opportunity or maybe just aren't necessarily aware of something, and if somebody else either suggests something or it's on the tour itinerary, it gives you that opportunity to perhaps go that little bit further, maybe into I say outside your comfort zone, but not in a negative sense, in a way that you'll actually experience new things that you will benefit from in the sense that you wouldn't perhaps have thought of them if you sort of just listed down the top whatever 5-10 things you wanted to see. So I think it widens one's opportunities to sort of see things and do things.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think you're a little more brave, say if you're solo traveling, just not quite the same experience when you're all on your own as being able to share it with people. Definitely. Do you have any advice for anyone joining a group tour for the first time?
Well, certainly, don't feel, on your own. Clearly, you're not anymore. So become part of the group, and perhaps a good way to achieve that throughout the tour is to perhaps get to know your fellow travelers as and when one's on the sort of the journey stages. If there's an opportunity to change seats, swap your seats with somebody, and then get to talk to somebody else, so you get to know them a bit more by the end of the journey as well, and find out what you know, some more ideas, what they like as well.
I love it. Now, in your opinion, what do you think makes the culture trip experience so special?
Well, again, it certainly focuses on responsible travel. I think that's definitely a good thing to have in today's society, particularly looking at supporting local, you know, the local culture, local people, local enterprises. Think on the Outer Hebrides trip, there's a visit to a local Harris cloth making factory, which I know goes down very well with some people I've visited there in the past. And yeah, I think it kind of does support the local economy directly in that way. Yeah,
absolutely. And then the final question today is, if somebody were choosing between heading out with us to Scotland and another place, what do you think they should keep in mind on why they should choose Scotland as their destination?
Well, these questions are always perhaps a little bit hard to answer, because there's so many places that can offer lots of fantastic things, whether it's the scenery or the food. But probably it's fair to say that Scotland, whilst a relatively small part of the world, essentially I'd say it offers it all. You know, it's got the history, the scenery, the nature, the food and the drink, the whiskies, gin is still becoming more popular these days. So
yeah, absolutely.
It's a way of, you know, seeing the world, or part of the world, but at the same time getting elements of all the different aspects that you might enjoy, or and if you haven't experienced them before, then certainly you wouldn't be disappointed by going on any one of these trips to sort of get a feel for what Scotland can offer you.
Wonderful. Do you have a favorite of the three?
I think it probably has to be the wilderness side, the Outer Hebrides in particular.
The wild Scotland. Yeah.
There's again, it feels a little bit more to yourself, not all the time, to be fair, but nonetheless there are occasions when, you know, you look around and you sort of wonder where everybody else is. So it's, and then you can enjoy the moments, and maybe the scenery, the sunsets, and yeah, take it all in.
Wonderful.